we're going to be drawing the Ephesus theater. It's such a beautiful, great theater in the ancient time. And let's show you how to draw this on a watercolor paper with markers. This one will take a little longer time, so let's get started. And we're going to start with the guidelines. Once the guidelines have been drawn, we will use the pencil to draw some curved lines at the bottom. However, I will be using the Sharpie for easier viewing. At the bottom left quadrant, I like to start a line going upward and then slowly bending it toward the right side. And on the bottom right quadrant, I'm going to draw a curved line to the right side, but then the curved line is a lot more flat than the beginning. And then the second curved line will be from the corner, the bottom left corner, and then meeting up with the first curved line on the right side, creating kind of like a path. And then I'm going to draw the third one just a little higher from the second one. We'll be going to the right side as well, from left to right. As you can see, the three lines made it sort of like a rainbow, except that the first one is a lot more curved in the beginning stage, where the bottom part of the curved line is. Now, this part gets a little bit more tricky because the fourth one is an upside down curve, sort of like a long bolt. And I will draw a line above that follows the same curve. And make sure that this one is just above the guideline. And as you can see, the two lines are just a very flat curve right above the guideline, the horizontal guideline. And I'm drawing it slowly so that you can follow along. Now the next one is a little bit higher, and then I'm going to draw another line that follows. So two lines, they are very close to each other. I'm making another, this is the biggest section is the seat, and you'll see that afterward. And lastly, I'm going to draw one more curved line just around one finger higher from the line we just did. Going to the right side, again, is a long curve from the left to right, but I don't go all the way this one. This one, I'm going to stop halfway in the top right quadrant, so that I'm making three levels. And then on the bottom part, I will draw some vertical lines in between the second and the third lines we drew. For me to illustrate the seats, I will use a pencil first to do the guidelines. On the bottom right quadrant, in the bottom middle part, I will make a dot and then drawing the line, a vertical line going from the dot toward the top part of the seats. The second one will be slightly over to the left. And then the third one will be going toward the center guideline. Next one, again, a little bit more toward the left, and notice all the lines start from the dots I drew in the bottom right corner. Here I have drawn my 6 guidelines, and now I will go back to my Sharpie and trace the guidelines, but only on the 3 sections of the seats. And while I'm tracing it, I'm going to do a double line. So on the guideline there, instead of drawing one line, I'm drawing 2 lines. Those are actually the staircase, so that people can walk up and down and get to their seats. Now, if you have been to a theater, you might notice that it's very similar, that you will be walking down the aisle and then going horizontally to find your seat. It's the same way how this works, so that it's slanted going upward, and then you walk down the staircase, which is the lines that we're drawing right now, and then we will be going horizontally to find our seat. So let me continue drawing the staircase. Remember to use 2 lines on these guidelines. And then because the upper 2 sections, they are bigger and wider than the bottom section, we're going to make another staircase in between the staircase we have drawn. So for the top 2 sections, we're going to draw staircases in between them. Now that we have constructed our staircase locations, I'm going to draw a little bit more decorations on the stage. On the stage, which is the bottom half circle that we see, we're going to draw a kind of like a goof that goes around the stage. And we're going to use similar curve as we drew in the beginning and going around the stage like this. And of course, those are more for decorations. You can use other way to draw those decorations on there, or you can ignore them if you don't have enough time. Now that we have our seats and the stage, we need an entrance. On the second floor, on the second section of the seats, I'm going to draw a little kind of like a door to have people coming into the theater. And the little door is kind of like a rectangular shape, but because they don't really use doors, but they're more like tunnels. At this stage, we have pretty much complete the design of the theater. Here I'm just adding a little bit more decoration for more detail. So on the bottom part where it is kind of like a wall that separates the audience from the stage, I just add some thickness to the rocks. In the past, these structures are built from rocks, and they're all rocks. Even the seats, they're basically rock seats. Same as the staircase, they're all rocks. So we're going to draw some horizontal lines on the staircase in between the two lines that we have drawn for the staircase. Once I have drawn most of the staircases, I like to draw a person on stage. This person will be Paul, the apostle. And then there are many people that are around there. So a lot of audience. And the audience, they're probably on the seats. And this theater can sit thousands of people here. And because the Apostle Paul is facing the audience, so I'm going to draw him looking toward the left side. And this stadium or theater is sort of like in the shape of a semicircle, like half of a circle. So if he has to face the audience, he can face either the left or front or right, and he can still see all these people. The only place he doesn't have audience is behind him. So I drew a lot of like small little characters on the first section here, and the second and third, the highest sections, I did not draw them because they might be too small, and I just used some dots to represent the people. And those people are basically the audience. I just used kind of like a circle for the head and kind of like a semicircle for the body. Once everything has been traced, we can start coloring them with markers. You can see which kind of color the markers I use. Those are mainly the beige and brown color because, like I said before, the stadium was made by rocks. And these are more like the rock and sand color. Once I have color in the stage, I use my paintbrush and add some water and melt some of the ink. So I'm basically blending in some of the colors that I drew, and make sure the markers that you're using, they are washable so that we can actually blend some of the colors in. And of course, the paper that I use is a watercolor paper. And if you do not have watercolor paper, you do not really need to use water or paintbrush to blend the colors in. You can also just use your markers or color pencil to fill in the colors, and that's okay as well. As for the sky, I like to add the sun right behind the theater. So as you can see, the empty space, empty semicircle that I left empty, that's where the sun is. And then I have all the blue colors going around the sun. And as I go more away from the sun, I use a darker blue. And you can see all the strokes that I use. After that, I start from the lightest part, which is the sun, the white part, and then going away from the sun, painting away from the sun, creating a smooth gradation so that it's from white to light blue to a darker blue. Make sure we do not add too much water, otherwise it will wash away all the ink. And I'm also bringing some of the blue onto the theater, the audience part, because it's actually in shadow. Because the sun is behind the theater and is shining toward us, where we're standing. That's why the whole section of the audience will be in shadow. All right, at this stage, we can slowly add more and more colors to our painting. So right here, I'm just adding a little bit more colors to the stage, to the audience, with different color clothes. You don't have to add too many colors, but just some colors. I use a little bit of pink and green for some of the clothes. And of course, later we can add more shadow and sunlight. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Thank you.